everybody? Welcome to the stream. We're going to be going over some price levels today for you all. It's a heavy, volatile open this week with the bombing in Iran over the weekend. It was crazy. The oil facility got bombed, and pipes are still blowing up on the ground all around the city, creating explosions. And it's not a pretty scene. War is never pretty. You never wish for war. But we do have to navigate around all obstacles, especially when you have your money in the market. Some people got their retirement funds in the market. You got to know how to navigate around these situations. So that's what I'm going to try to help y'all do today with the price levels. And we are going to be looking at some crucial levels with ETFs. I'm always going to give you guys the ETF levels for free. But if you want to individual company levels, anything like that, you're going to have to join the Discord community. But I will show you love with SPY and the Qs today. I know a lot of people have their money in SPY's Qs, and we may touch on the IWM too. But we're also going to talk about some different industries. I want to do some exploring, some deep diving into some other industries. My boy G wants to look at the food, the meat, fish, and dairy industry. We could do some diving in and see what those companies look like on a fundamental basis and what their growth potential could be. Because all industries are going to be affected by new technologies and everything coming out. So food is going to have an opportunity for expansion due to more efficient logistical operations. Food getting places faster. It's going to help with certain foods getting to certain parts of the world quicker, giving people more access, making farmers more lucrative. So we're going to definitely want to look into that industry and see how that can expand in the next 2 to 3 years at least. All right. Now let's start off with looking into those sectors. We'll get into the price levels in a little bit. I do want to look at what we was looking at. G, we was looking at JBS, right? You said. I don't know. He there. G, you there? No, I don't know if he there. When he comes back, we can look at some JBS. I know he wanted to look at that. For now, let me give you all the SPY levels I'm looking at for this week. Let's pull up the SPY chart really quick. Let's go. All right, so we got the SPY chart opened up right here. This is SPY on the weekly. So as you see, the overall market is still doing pretty good. We're having a little dip off right now. It's not of too much concern, I say, until we get below probably 650. Then we'll start saying this is a precipitous dip, lower than our dip that we had back in November 2025 right here. We want to watch out for that level breaking on the weekly. So as of right now, I would say we are entering a downtrend if we get below 650, but right now we're still in consolidation, if you ask me, on a weekly basis with a slight downtrend starting to form. So you want to watch out and see how low this extends. We're going to get some kind of bounce after a gap down like this today. If you are a short-term scalp trader, I know a lot of people like trying to scalp the gaps. So you could try to play these gap refills. We actually have like two kind of gap downs that we could refill on SPY. If you look close enough, you can see one gap right here, another gap right here on SPY that we could potentially refill back up to 680 before we reject again and come down heavy. And that's the kind of things that can happen in the bear market. Bear markets sometimes fool people thinking that we're jumping back into a bullish market because they'll take a rally like this from where we are 670 and you'll run back up to 680. But if you look back and pay attention, this is where we were been resisting. So if we come back up here and we take a harder rejection next time, it's still a bear market. So keep an eye out for SPY. Yes, refilling this gap today. I'm not looking too bullish on the market, but if you were a scalper, I say you could look getting calls pretty comfortably back up to 669.50, 670 from where we are now at 667, 665. But that's going to be, like I said, short-term scalp play. That's an hour, maybe a 2 hour long trade. When I say scalp, that's what I mean. Something that you're in for an hour to maybe 2 hours long. You don't want to be in scalp trades swinging them for a day. Once you get into holding them for more than a day, it becomes a swing trade. All right. So this is a scalp. So keep your eye on that gap refill. Once this gap refills back up to 669, we want to wait and see if we get some kind of put resistance right here at 669.50. We'll look for that. That could be a potential put entry for me. I'm gonna set my alert up right there. I don't want to say that. Let's just have it as an alert. We're gonna put this put entry. So make sure you set your alerts out there. You guys are charting price levels. You gotta set alerts and label your alerts so you know what the hell the alert is telling you. Sometimes you got so many different alerts set, you're not really sure just by the price what it's telling you. So put that label next to it, whether it's a put or a call entry. All right, so that's gonna be the put entry area I'm looking for. If we do calls this week on SPY, I would need to see SPY at least retest. If we could get a good strong retest of 670-280, that may be a potential area for calls. But I wouldn't jump in heavy on calls until we break above 675. So this is why 675 is a key level this week. I'm gonna break down a couple reasons, but one, as you can see off this chart, it's the first level that we pushed back up to from that initial pullback we had on last week on Thursday. That was the low of that day and the high of Friday, 675. So that's obviously a crucial level. And you see it going back how many times we touched 675 and bounced off of there before. So this is the first time breaking below 675 since back in December. And that was a quick flash dip below that level and we popped right back up. So we really haven't truly been below 675 for any more than let me see, no longer than, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would say more than a week. 675, we were under there for about a week back in November, and then we popped right back above it. So this is another test below that 675 crucial level. We want to see if we stay below there for more than a week this time, or if we're going to pop right back up again. Yeah, 675 super crucial level. So we're gonna put call entry at 673. This is gonna be a early call entry. So we put early call, and then we know the 675 is gonna be the call entry. So put 675.80. And on that, once we get in that to the upside, the profit, the take profit you would look for a target. Remember, I do my levels off of weekly levels, right? So we're going to go back to the weekly chart and see what the next level we can identify based off of the top or the bottom wick of a candlestick coming up from here. So what's the first bottom or top of wick you touch coming up? Boom, first top candlestick I touch is right over here. So we got it perfectly, 683. Let me press the wrong button. 683, we got as a target on the way up. If we enter that 675 call, what the hell? Let me pull this down a little bit right here, right about there. 683.90, that'll be the first target on the SPY calls. Take your money, don't be acting funny, take the money. Oh, I'm sorry, 675, I lied to you guys. 675, the first take profit I'm gonna set for that is honestly gonna be 679.50. So that's gonna be the first area you wanna take the money. That's gonna be my purple lines right there. That's usually take profit levels. So you wanna take your profit at 679.48. If you catch the call at 672 or 675.90, that's gonna be the target, all right? And we're going to play the rejection on puts at 670. If we pull up to 670, based on momentum right now, I don't believe we're going to get above there, but this is a gap refill. I do believe that could potentially happen, but we could get some nice put entries off of there. And we could ride the put wave down to 665 on SPY. And the second target, you can write that down to the low of this today, pretty much, of this week is 662. And we may potentially break that and go down to 659. After 659 is when we could get a pretty good move to the downside to 654. But let's see if that breakdown occurs. Right now, we're watching for 669 rejection. Let me put the Discord. And we have some gamma levels. Let me talk gamma to y'all real quick. So SPY has heavy gamma around 666. So that means it's heavy positioning around that $666 level, which, if you ask me, is not a coinky dink or coincidence. 666, we all know, familiar with that number, right? Well familiar. And that happens to be where our price falls to over the weekend, opening up this Monday, which is also in alignment with yesterday was daylight savings time. Hope you all got your clock set up properly now. But we have daylight savings time on the 8th today and tomorrow. Believe it or not, if you guys are into any kind of ancient spirituality like I am into, tomorrow's the Kemetic zodiac begins the sign of Isis, and everybody knows who Isis is. If you're into any kind of Egyptian or Kemetic spirituality studies, you should know who that is. If you're not, you could dive in and do some deep research. I like choreographing, correlating, and seeing how a lot of the moves in the stock market align with a lot of these sometimes ancient holidays, or sometimes lunar motions and movements in the sky when it comes to full moons, half moons, lunar eclipses. Like we just had the blood moon on March 3rd. And then, of course, right after that, we had the attack start in Iran. So a lot of these things correlate and align. So I like to keep my eyes on what's to come on the calendar. It kind of gives you it's like an indicator. It gives you a heads up of what sometimes some volatility may become. To say it's going to go up or down, don't really know most of the time. Maybe after studying this for a few years, I'll be able to pick up the trend and understanding. But as of right now, it's just more so identifying volatility around those holidays or those changing of seasons. Like daylight savings time is now, and I believe we have the when is the spring equinox? Spring equinox is March 19th, so that's going to be next week Thursday. So let's keep an eye out and see what's going on around the 18th to the 20th. See how the market acts, or see what global events starts to happen around that time. All right, because a lot of people think that the market is very mysterious place to be and it's so shrouded in mystery, but it's really not. If you're keeping up with the news and you understand certain trends and patterns and sciences, it really follows a certain kind of science that it has to it. But it does require you to have patience. It's not something that once you understand that and you study that now you can make money, you're going to become a millionaire overnight. No, it's going to require you. What you're going to see and understand that in order to make serious wealth in the stock market, it's required that you have patience. You're always going to need patience, and you're going to have to time yourself with certain events, certain occurrences, and causations. And that is how you're going to really grow your portfolio. Once you have an alignment like this going and you have that understanding, then you know what's to come, and you know what you're waiting for, and you know when to get out of the market, and when things are going to get a little crazy and volatile, when to re-enter. That information is invaluable. People look for that stuff every day from the news networks and CNN and Jim Cramer. People look for that information everywhere, but I think it's already set in stone somewhere, and they're just kind of, following that trend. It's not rocket science though. But let's keep it back to the charts. So like I said, we got heavy support or positioning for SPY at 666. It's still a negative gamma territory, even in that 666 range. So that lets you know we're in a bearish territory between, I want to say, 666 and 670. It's considered bearish. 666 up to 670 and down. Of course, anything below that's going to be bearish, but that is still considered bearish territory. Once we get, that's why I said the 672 is a good area to probably start looking at call entry, because you may start creeping out of bearish territory, but it's still going to be um, favoring the bears below that 670 level. So you want to be exposed to this level, to the side of the trade that is in favor. You don't want to try to fight the trend. If the trend is a downtrend, I don't care how much you want it to come up to 683 or bounce, or how much you want the war to end. That's not going to make anything change on the chart. You got to follow what the trend is telling you. And when the trend says we're in a downtrend, you play these rejections. So that's why we want to play the 669 rejection. You're not going to catch it at the bottom. You don't want to catch puts down here at 662 and then get caught in a bounce like this. So you want to find those good rejection zones. So 669 is one of those with a large gamma cluster. So gamma cluster pretty much just means there's a lot of open exposure at certain prices. So there's a lot of put exposure at 670, meaning that if we break above 670, people are going to start have to hedge against their put position, so they don't end up losing too much money. So it might mean people are in puts around 665, right? So at 670, there's a heavy chance that they're going to have to hedge against their position, their put with a call, because their put is going to be down, let's say, 20%. So they don't want to risk it going down any further without them having some kind of hedge in. So these are the areas, 670, where you might see some calls start coming in. 675, like we said, is another crucial area where if we push up to here and people are still in the puts from 665, they're going to buy more calls up here to hedge against their put. And that is going to still be in negative gamma territory, so they may not exit the put. They just may start buying calls to hedge. Then when you get to the 680 area, where we're talking about the target on the put, on the calls that we enter, that's when you could start seeing a gamma flip, and we could start seeing us flip into positive gamma territory again, creating now positive upflow, and you want to now get behind that momentum to the upside. So you want to ride that momentum up as the gamma comes in, and that pivot area is pretty much around this 675 as it's marked right now. So once we break above 675, you could start viewing this as starting to pivot into positive gamma territory and start leaning more towards the calls, all right? And definitely stop out of a put if you're in a put, and then we break above 675. This is probably where you want to cut your put and start leaning heavy into the calls. And when you do the same thing in reverse on the way down, you'll treat 672 or maybe even 670 as a hedge area. 672 is light hedge on puts. 670 heavier hedge on puts. 665, you're going to be out those calls and heavy into puts, and you want to ride those puts down to the next target down at 662. All right, so that's how you play that hedge game if you want to do scalping and hedging. And those are for my day traders that like to trade levels throughout the day. Those are the levels you want to watch for going into today, for SPY at least. Now we could jump on Qs. Let's jump on some Q levels. G, you back? Where G at? G, you back? I'm trying to go through this meat and dairy industry. Okay, I don't think he's back yet. Alright, so let's look at the Qs now on the weekly. Let's look at the Qs. Qs. Let me do a quick little shift over here really quick for you guys though. Hold on. If you haven't already, make sure you visit the Culture Shock Investments website. All right, quick commercial break. Make sure you come into our website, cultureshockinvestments.com. Come to us for initial consultations. If you know absolutely nothing about stocks and investing, I can help you with initial consultation, see what you do know, and kind of meet you where you're at, give you guidance on how to learn more of the basics that you need to know in order to become an investor or trader on a basic level. We could help you create an investment account, and you could even go as far as if you already have some kind of financial plan or 401k that you're enrolled in, we could upgrade, we could enhance that, or I could help you with that, create a longer term financial plan on how to manage that with the 5 to 10 year financial plan here on the website, okay? And of course, you want to join the Discord community, like I always say. Join the Discord. This is where you're going to get access to all of the trend lines that I put out, all the price levels, all of the support and resistance zones that I'm giving you now on the Live for SPY. I give this on a weekly basis for the community for multiplicity of stocks, not just ETFs. We go into individual stocks like Tesla, Nvidia, Google, Microsoft, Apple. So you know where to look for. You're not completely in the dark, and as your skill sets develop, you can start coming to me with some price levels and things to look for, okay? So in case you don't understand what Culture Shock Investments is about, this is our mission here. Investing for the culture. We want to bring more wealth and ownership to the black community, whether that be through stocks, bonds, life insurance, real estate, crypto, or royalty ownership, okay? So make sure you check out the Culture Shock Investments website, everybody here on the live. All right, we could jump back on the charts now. Let's go back. To the Qs. That's where we're talking about, the Qs. Let's jump back on SPY really quick. I wanted to say, because I know you guys, a lot of people trading SPY. The 665 to 670 area is going to be a really choppy zone. So we're looking on the 2 hour link on 2 hour. 2 hour looks strong. The hourly looks strong on SPY right now. Like I said, we may have a strong push until this gap is refilled all the way back up here to around 670, 671. But if we get above 672.80, take those calls. And right now, we're still in a downtrend based on the hourly trend that we send in. You see this green line? That's the top of the downtrend. This is the bottom. We bounced right off the bottom of that downtrend. And the top of it is right around 680, the target level. So the target level we got on the calls is perfect for you to get out just before we start hitting heavy resistance on the hourly trend. See, that's why you got to love the price levels. The price levels, the trends, and game exposures, a lot of the time those things line up once you step back and look at the chart and from a macro perspective. You see all those things aligning with each other. And when you see convergence, where you see 2 or 3 things aligning with like a price level, the top of a trend, and a gamma exposure level all in the same range, you could best believe there's going to be some kind of heavy price action around those levels, okay? All right, let's jump to the Qs. Q's at 597. Okay, Q's had a nice little bounce back up already today. You see I drew a little downtrend on the Q's. They started a slight downtrend on the weekly. This is the range that it's in right now. Between 606 down to 576 is the range we could go to. Well, this week we'll say 578 is the bottom of the downtrend. As long as it stays between 578 and 605, we're still in a downtrend. Once we get above 60, if we get above 607, 608 this week, then we're starting to break the downtrend, the small downtrend that we're in on the weekly. So that's the level you want to watch, 608, for the downtrend line to break and to remain in trend, to be oversold. We're a little bit oversold if it comes down below 578. So if we get some kind of crazy dip in the market and it goes below 578, this is an area where you may be able to hedge some short calls to the back to the upside, because that's a little oversold. Let's go look at some. Let's look at this on the daily chart real quick. Let's see if we see any trend. Nah, the Q's has been all over the place. That's why I put it in the downtrend on the weekly. Because on the daily, there's no real trend. You're going to see it looks like consolidation. And if you zoom out on the SPY, on Q's, it kind of still looks like consolidation. As you see, we dipped down to 580 back around Thanksgiving. So we haven't been below that level since then. That would be considered the low of this consolidation zone. But I have consolidation being broken right around where we are now. If we get below 595, I want to say that breaks the more reasonable consolidation, because that wick down here, that was like an outlier. You don't want to base your trend off of one outlier level. So this is more so realistic consolidation right here. And we want to make sure that we hold within this level. If we start breaking out of this, then you could expect a further downfall, definitely coming to 580. So key level for you to watch for Qs is going to be 596.31. That's going to be my put entry for this week. I'm going to put my alert there. Did I erase all my alerts every week? We want to reset. All right, there we go. Let's put our price levels in here. We're going to say put entry. And we're going to look for call entry. Where would y'all think calls would be based off looking at this chart? I already kind of have a level set there. But what I want to do, let me look at my gamma. Let's look at the gamma levels on Qs to see if that call entry that I'm looking at, that's going to be considered early call entry or late call entry. So with the Qs, with the Qs, yeah, I want to say we will take this 60. Why is it not clicking the right line? There we go. We're going to take 60213. Now I'll move this up a little bit to the top wick. We're going to base it off the top wick of this candlestick back here in September. This is going to be the entry. This is weekly candlesticks. Remember, we're doing weekly charting. And we're going to take our entry based off of the top wick of this weekly candlestick back here in September. Once we break that, we're going to say that's early call entry. So it's a higher risk, more chance of rejection coming in. But once we get above this level right here at 607, this is clean call entry right here. That is the price level I really like. If you want to be patient, you be patient, you wait for this 607 level. As you see, you could do it probably between 606 and 607, but I say wait for, well, actually saying 608, sorry, 608. Between 606 and 608 will be call entry, but I will wait for that 608 if you want to be sure and get a nice push up to 612 after that. That'll be our target. First target on the Qs. And the second target, we'll put it at this 617 level, okay? On the downside, if we come down below this 596 right here that we have on the Qs, this put entry that we're marking, we want to say the first wick that we seen, we're going to move this level up a little bit. We're going to say 591 is obviously serving as a support. Last week and this week is serving as a support level 591.50. Let's break it down even further. We're going to go down to 587.50, okay? 587.50 is going to be the next level down we look for. And then the ultimate breakdown, we know 581 lets us know we're getting a little oversold. If we get down there this week, below there this week, we're going to be oversold. So that's where I will definitely be taking profit on your puts right down here, at least for this week, until we can reanalyze and reevaluate for next week's session. Okay. So we had the Qs, we got SPY, and we could touch the IWM. Let's go to the IWM weekly levels. IWM, let's look at the monthly. IWM put a 2 down on the monthly, huh? I always like looking at a monthly chart. You see how it's bouncing right off the support level? This is a monthly level right around the low of January. So the low of January on the IWM was 245.86, and that's right where we bounced off of this month. If we start breaking January lows, that's probably a signal that we're going to pivot down, but let's look and see what the trend is telling us. The trend is saying we're still in the uptrend on IWM. As you see, the top of the trend will be around 290. Bottom trend at 240. We're bouncing off the bottom of this trend around 240. Like I said, will be the base. The very bottom will be 233. Anything below 233, we're starting to look like we're getting into a downtrend on the weekly, and the pivot is serious. Right now, we're probably trying to refill this gap back up to right around this level right here. On the gap refill scalpers, you're probably looking for 250 right now. If we get up to 250, that is probably going to be my put entry level for this week. Playing that rejection. And call entry level, I want to be safe for IWM. We're going to say 254, okay? You could try to trade in the 250s, but you'll get chopped up in 250 to 254. He'll get chopped up bad in that range. So we want to wait for 254 as the call entry. Oh, shit. Where did I get that level from, you say? Where? Can you see it on the chart? Do you see where I got it from yet? We got it from this back here, this week of December 22nd, 2025. This is a nice little resistance level. And if we break through that, we should get a leg up back at least towards 260. We could touch 258.50 pretty easy. And then we could retest this 261 level. IWM to the downside. If we reject off of 240, off of 250, like I expect us to. Put an alert right here. And we will look for a put target right around the low of this week that it put in. Gave us an early signal where we could look for 244.29. And then below that, I will look for the next dip to be a little more serious down to 241.06. Okay? So we got some put levels there. Remember, this is not financial advice. This is educational purposes only. If you want financial advice, you would have to book a one-on-one consultation or consult your financial advisor for managing your portfolio. I can consult you. Reach out to Culture Shock Investments. Everything doesn't work for everybody. You may not be someone who may be able to grasp and understand the levels and price levels in trading, but it doesn't mean you should not be in the stock market. I still want you investing in the stock market. Don't let the levels and candlesticks intimidate you. It's not rocket science. It's simple. It's simple math, simple English. Whatever one subject you're better at, it's that one for you. Okay? I could break it down, and we have the classes on YouTube. Make sure you visit the Culture Shock Investments YouTube and check out the classes that I have posted, basics of stocks and basics of option trading. We're going to be resuming classes next week. We're going to get into more intermediate and advanced topics, like I'm talking to you today about, like gamma exposure. I'm going to start talking to you about stuff like that more often and how to use those tools, all right? But the key is not to overwhelm you with information. The key is to teach you and have you absorb things that you can actually apply and learn on a daily basis to help you manage your money. All right, so let's go ahead. Everybody have a beautiful week. You got your levels, you got your trends set for SPY, Qs, IWM. Hope you got your levels written down. If not, rewind the video, watch it, share it with a friend, and let's get this money this week. If you're still not sure, still unconfident, join the community. We got more guidance there for you. All right.